What's up, everyone, and welcome here to the newest edition of Super Powered Pop. You can find us online on our website, superpoweredpop.com, and Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at superpoweredpop. We have a lot of great stuff coming up for you. I spent a lot of time at New York Comic-Con, have a lot of incredible stories and some cool things that I found, and we will get to all of that. But today, as you see behind us, we are talking She-Hulk Attorney at Law, the entire series, because according to Kevin the Robot, She-Hulk may be done. We'll see. So Larissa Fitzgibbons is here with me, a big part of our family here at Superpowered Pop, and we are both going to carry you through this entire series look at She-Hulk because, well, at this point, we don't know if there's going to be any more. Larissa, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I don't know if Disney Plus is good, but it's I wear this with pride, but they started high. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki, Miss Marvel, Moon Knight, Werewolf by Night was good too recently here. And then we kind of shook a little bit with She-Hulk. And ultimately, I can tell you at the beginning of the series, I didn't know what to expect. And at the end, I still don't know. And the sad thing about the story arc is I don't know anything more about it than I knew about it in the beginning. I don't think that at the end they still knew where they were going, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to we're going to broad paintbrush this thing and we'll get into different parts of it, but your overall thoughts. You watched the series, it ends, you finished it like a day before me. So I'm just going to kind of unleash the beast. Larissa has a very sweet and kind face, but the words that come out of her mouth this hour is probably not going to be what you expect. So I'm going to let you go. What do you got? What do you got for me?
Well, my overall opinion, it just wasn't that great. I gave it so many shots. I kept watching it every episode. I was just like, it's okay. Like, I'll just continue to see what comes, and it just, the ending, the last episode almost kind of ruined it for me because it just almost seemed like they were trying to fit so much in that one episode.
Yeah.
And it was a mess. I thought it. So.
Yeah, I did not expect her to jump out onto the Disney Plus kind of cycle through library page and jump through and go to different parts of it. And the thing that was weird too is like you're all these episodes in, you got all these CGI fixes you should have made. And when she's walking through like the movie lot in this, like in our world or whatever, and she's walking and eventually meets the writers, she's doing this like weird stride thing and her legs look off. And I'm like, the CGI of this looks like a bad video game. And this is the last episode. Did you catch that?
Yeah, a little bit. I did. Yeah.
And she goes in, she talks to a very weird scene. I guess it's kind of like Miss Minutes, but Miss Minutes had a menacing, creepy, like digital glitch approach where we meet Kevin, not Kevin Feige, but Kevin the Robot, who has determined everything we've seen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, determined how much of it we see, what we don't get to see, and goes by his algorithms by giving people what he thinks they want and anticipates. And so what did you think about that? That we thought we were going to see Kevin Feige. We saw Kevin the Robot. What are your thoughts?
I just thought it was a little strange. I don't know. That whole scene just didn't really make sense to me.
Is there something about Kevin the Robot? Because I've seen some people thinking way like deep into this ideals that Kevin the Robot was created by Kang the Conqueror, and Kang is behind showing us what we are allowed to see and this and that. I mean, do you think it's a spoof play off of Kevin Feige? Does it have a deeper, creepier meaning? Does it have to do with artificial intelligence like Ultron? Is this a big thing or is this not a big thing in your opinion?
I mean, now that you bring it up, it could be a big thing. I just now that Marvel has considered going dark,
Yeah.
maybe it does go into a darker path.
It's funny that Marvel has been setting up the Midnight Suns or the Marvel Knights, and either one of those is a group that, well, you would see Elektra, who was introduced at Netflix, Daredevil, who was introduced at Netflix, Iron Fist, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, Punisher, all introduced by Netflix, ABC, and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. introducing the Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider. We've already met Doctor Strange. We know Blade is coming. Moon Knight just came into Disney Plus. So if they're going the darker side, and we've met the Black Knight in Eternals at the end with him picking up Excalibur. So we already have a gallery of Marvel Knights or Midnight Suns that would be very dark, R-rated, bloody, gruesome anti-heroes, vigilantes. This show didn't go there. This show was more about online dating than it was about being green and mean, in my opinion.
I can agree with that.
How did you take it? I mean, this is, we don't see a lot of female-led movies or female-led shows. As a female watching this show, how did you feel? Did you feel represented, respected, or did you feel like, well, I'll give my thought on it afterwards. I want to know what you felt watching the show.
It didn't really do anything for me, honestly. Like, I didn't feel represented. I mean, it just really didn't do anything for, like, as a female, if you're talking about as a female aspect, it didn't really do anything.
I told you off the air that I consider this like a green version of Sex in the City.
Yeah.
And it just, I don't know, to me, it lost something, and it never got, I mean, I don't know if it lost it because it never had it, but the first couple episodes, we see Bruce Banner and, and the Hulk, and we see that, he can live in this Professor Hulk world that, and actually we see him as Bruce for the first time in a long time. We see him break away from this Professor Hulk. We know that he can go back into it. And the story of her becoming She-Hulk and how it happened, they changed that from the comics because she needed a blood transfusion. She got it from Bruce, and then the gamma radiation was in it. In this story, there is a Sicarian ship that somehow meets them on the road. We don't know who was in it, and it could have been Scar, it could have been anybody, but it's at the end of the day, I mean, it could have honestly been Jeff Goldblum's character, but we'll find that out as we go. And then they end up going off the road. They get in a crash. She tries to save Bruce. He says, "Get away from me, I'm bleeding." And his blood drips into her open cuts. And that's how she gets the power. Did you like that they changed that? Do you like when Marvel changes the comics?
So I've never really read the comics. So to me, it, like, the movie version is the only version for me, or the show version.
Yeah.
But with you explaining what was in the comics, I think I like the TV version better, just because, it was like an accident. I mean, the other side, it was an accident, but I think it just kind of, I don't know, like, kind of worked better that way, I think.
And she also got to know her powers so easily. She was able to manipulate them, do her yoga, flip her body over, wrap her legs around her hand when he's like trying to show her one thing. She's doing all this crazy stuff, throwing things farther than him. And so there's this whole, and I don't know if this is like, hey, this is a female version of the Hulk. We want to show that the women are better than the men, or if this is like, hey, we're trying to, but I mean, ultimately she looked better than Bruce. And I thought it was unbelievable, because here he is taking all these years mastering the balance between Bruce Banner and the Hulk. And here she is. And it's like within 5 minutes, she mastered her power. She was able to be both. She was able to talk as She-Hulk and able to, kind of live in this world. And be it a comic book story or reality story, I think it kind of beats up the Hulk story. And the whole point of the Hulk and why he was such a special character is that he had to find the balance between him as a human and him as this monster, and to see if they could live together and coexist. and he's like, who's the guy in the chair type of thing, and she makes this thing coexist within first half hour of the show. And I think that that's really, it's like a disrespectful smack at the Hulk. And he even mentioned, like, this took me years, and he had a binder and he set up all this stuff in case anybody else was affected like him. And she's like, yeah, I don't need it. I figured it out in 5 minutes.
Yeah, I can understand that too. But I kind of like, just thinking about it, I wonder if it's just because, like, she only got a small amount of his blood into her system. Maybe it isn't affected as much. That's kind of what my theory was, but
Yeah, we never saw her as a monster. They
Right.
tried to do it, and out of all the times for her to Hulk out, it was when this group, the intelligentsia, which exists in the comics and are very powerful, they kind of diluted this to a website. But again, this could be like when Mysterio in Spider-Man Far From Home, when he brings up the multiverse and he's making, he's theatrical and he's not real, but he brings up a real thing that maybe he knew about, or maybe he, accidentally stumbled upon. Could this be that? Could this be, hey, we're going to make the intelligentsia a website and make it this like stupid, ridiculous thing, when in actuality, it is dark, it is menacing, it is deep. The whole show, they're trying to get her blood, and we never really see what that becomes. However, she does make a reference and say, am I going to get, what she say, am I going to get fridged? Which is like, is she going to kind of be put on the back burner type of thing? Or is somebody red going to show up, which is the Red Hulk, who we still haven't seen, who has been teased for like over a decade. And William Hurt, General Thunderbolt Ross, who was supposed to turn in to the Red Hulk, passed away in real life, and he rest in peace. But allegedly now Harrison Ford is going to become General Thunderbolt Ross, which would mean that we would see Harrison Ford turn into a Hulk. Your thoughts on Harrison Ford becoming a scarier, darker, more evil version of the Hulk, known as the Red Hulk?
So I knew he was going to play that role, but I did not know that that role turned into the Red Hulk. So hearing that kind of makes me laugh because, I know Harrison Ford as like Star Wars and whatnot.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny to me seeing him as like a big, bad, scary thing. So
Allegedly, he's supposed to be. Now, I've waited for the Red Hulk. I know people that are within this Marvel Studios world, and I constantly have asked them about the Red Hulk. I'm like, don't blink if it's going to happen. Don't do that. I mean, I know people that are like, oh, I know what's happening, years down the road, and I know what's happening in phase 5 and this and that. Nobody will give it up, but I am ready to see the Red Hulk. I'm ready to see a giant red version of the Hulk with a cigar coming after the Hulk and having this be a fight. That's Bruce's fight, though. I mean, do you want to see, now that we've seen, and we'll get into Bruce's son, or Hulk's son, but Scar, She-Hulk, Hulk, do you want to see a Red Hulk? Do you want to see an Abomination, the leader who was in the movie with Ed Norton, where his brain started to get affected by the gamma radiation? Do you want to see the leader, Abomination, Red Hulk, Hulk, She-Hulk, Scar? Is it time to see a bunch of Hulks fighting each other on a screen?
I think that would be cool. Maybe, they kind of will learn that, She-Hulk doesn't have to date in this one, in this movie, or, maybe they'll learn from that. Maybe it'll be more of like an actual Marvel movie. I think that would be cool, because just being able to see a She-Hulk too, being a normal Marvel character at this point in that movie, hopefully that would be nice.
Yeah, this was like a Marvel sex appeal. Thor Love and Thunder also was like, and I was talking to somebody about it, and I said, the God Butcher only butchers one god and we don't see it. And
Mhm.
and they're like, well, Dan, we can't show, I don't think that they can show blood. And this is not somebody in Marvel, just someone talking. And they're like, well, Dan, they can't show blood because they want to appeal to kids. And I said, they spent multiple minutes talking about sex and orgies and multiple partners. So you can tell the 6-year-old about an orgy, but you can't show, and it wasn't even, it was gold blood. Didn't even look like blood. It looked
Yeah.
like fairy dust. So it's like, you can't show the God Butcher butcher gods with gold blood, but you can talk to a child about an orgy.
Oh yeah.
And then She-Hulk is about, multiple episodes she has sex with somebody, and can we talk about the Daredevil walk of shame?
I'm sorry, but I feel like that just no, it just didn't make it look good for Matt Murdock.
It made Matt Murdock look like wussy. It made him look,
Yeah.
like the whole point of Daredevil is he is this menace, like he believes in God, but he has his own style of justice. He's very serious. He's very
Mhm.
focused. So to make him this, and here goes Marvel. Netflix made him dark and mysterious and incredible. And here he is in the last 2 episodes of She-Hulk, and he's cheesy, he's poppy, he's joking around. He's got this. I understand that in the comic books there is a gold and red costume, but they made him just like this cheesy, poppy, like Ariana Grande version of a hero. And I'm not trying to mess with Ari. I'm just saying, like, ponytail and haha, like they just made him so cheesy. And you and I both know Daredevil, and I don't know if you felt the same way, but that's not the Daredevil I know.
No, I agree. I also feel like they just kind of ruined the whole storyline from Daredevil from Netflix because they know they're going to be making another series for Daredevil.
Yeah.
And it just, what happened to Karen, what happened to that? And because there was always like leading up to that with Karen and them, like they always had something going on, but um, I don't know. I feel like it just kind of ruined everything for Matt Murdock.
What happened to Karen? What happened to Elektra? Like,
Right.
his actual love interest. And the thing is, it's like, okay, so he had sex with Jennifer Walters, or did he have sex with She-Hulk? And
Right.
and at the end of the day, she like is head over heels with him, and she's making jokes about, she's like, oh, I smash some things, and sometimes I smash Matt Murdock.
Yeah.
And then he's walking home in broad daylight with his suit on, holding his boots, when he is normally a very mysterious person that typically only comes out at night
Yeah.
and functions in the shadows. So seeing him walk down the street, it cheeses him up. And then at the end of it, like, he just happens to leave Hell's Kitchen, leave all the crime, leave all the threats to go and have a picnic with her parents.
Yeah. Like it almost seemed like a video game where he just kind of plopped out of midair and just, oh, hey.
Yeah, it's
It's
like he just
what is
showed
that
up.
about? Yeah. What is that about?
And now it's like, oh, they're in a relationship, and it's like, no, they're not. It was, I mean,
Yeah.
I understand that you might want them to flirt with each other and have that. We had Natasha Romanoff as Black Widow. We had her flirt with Captain America, and there were those moments. But, and I think, there's a lot of different characters that had those different moments, but you build up 3 seasons, like you said, of Karen Page, who kind of has a Matt Murdock thing, but also kind of has a Frank Castle Punisher thing. And so
Right.
she's in the middle of these two, and she plays that role incredibly. And if they don't have Karen Page in the future of Daredevil, that's their mistake. If you don't have Foggy Nelson, that's their mistake. And Elektra Nachios, I mean, this is anything you see Daredevil in, Elektra shows up eventually, and they have this Batman Catwoman relationship where they're attracted to each other. There's all this chemistry. There's this like feeling of tension in the air, but then she does things differently than he does. And so it's like it's kind of like they grab each other, like they're going to fight, then they kiss, then they push each other off and throw things at each other, then they kiss again. And like that kind of like strange, twisted, romantic, hard relationship to navigate is such a deep story of who he is in the comics. And now he's just someone who She-Hulk made have the walk of shame in an episode.
Yeah, I don't know. It did not seem right. It did not seem like Matt Murdock, you know. And I'm actually in the middle of watching The Punisher right now, so I've realized about the whole Punisher and Karen Page thing too. So
yeah, she definitely has an attraction to the guys that she could lose.
right.
So, and I mean, but it's a great story, and how she comes in, and how she, I mean, she's been involved in so many different pieces of it. I don't, as soon as I saw Matt and I saw that they were like having them flirt with each other in She-Hulk, the first thing I thought as a guy was, how you going to explain yourself, bro? Like, how you going to go home and talk to Karen? How are you going to deal with Elektra? Like, how are you going to tell Foggy about this? Are you going to tell Foggy that you had a one night stand with She-Hulk? I mean, what is this going to do to Karen when you told Karen numerous times, you made Karen feel like you can't have a relationship with her because you have to protect her, and then you fly halfway across the country and have sex with a stranger.
Right.
So, I mean, if I'm Karen,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be pissed, very pissed.
Oh yeah, if I was Karen, I would be pissed too.
So, I mean, I think you know what? I'd like to see a Karen Page fight She-Hulk. Let's bring Karen out. Let's make it happen.
Bring Karen out. Let's see what she can do.
But I mean, and then through the entire season, we constantly see Titania, who has genuinely no position in the show. She hates She-Hulk. She hates that she has powers. She's jealous of her. She's a social media influencer, and she shows up and punches She-Hulk a few times and is in the majority of the episodes with no real purpose. She's not a real villain. In the comics, she is. But in this thing, it was just like, she's a hater that also has powers.
Yeah, she almost just seemed like a bully. That was it, like a middle school bully.
And it's like there's a whole episode about the copyright, and that she takes the She-Hulk trademark and She-Hulk has to get it back. And I mean, there's an entire episode of her checking her phone for a text message of a guy she slept with. I mean,
yeah.
And she slept with 3 different guys in what, 8 episodes? And I feel like she slept with more people and talked about dating more than we saw action. I mean, the first episode was like, hey, this is going to be action. The first scene, from the beginning of this all, you're in the car with Bruce, you're in an accident, bang, within the first couple minutes, you turn into She-Hulk. And then Bruce goes to Sakaar, and the show completely lost itself. And I mean, to me, if this was a half an hour special, I still would not have appreciated it. And I feel bad for everybody involved. I feel bad for all the actors and actresses. I feel bad for everyone included in this TV show, because it's honestly one of the most forgettable things that Marvel has ever done.
Yeah, I agree. Cause I feel like, what's her name that plays She-Hulk? What's her actual name?
Yeah, so She-Hulk, I'll give you all, and we'll give you a little backdrop
Yeah,
here.
I think she has great potential. It's just the way they wrote the whole story.
Yeah, Tatiana Maslany.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, her story too, and they did like a whole piece about like why she agreed to do this. And pardon me, 9 episodes, not 8. But Tatiana Maslany, and so we see her here, and I'm just looking at some of the people that are on this list. John Bass, who plays Todd, who's Hulk King. I mean, he's just a giant douche. He's like if you met an internet troll in person. And then, I mean, we do get to see Mark Ruffalo, which was great. And Benedict Wong shows up. And why does Benedict Wong keep breaking the Abomination out of jail? I mean, what the heck does he need him for? It's just very strange.
Yeah, it is very strange.
And to me, I'm like, I mean, there's not going to be another Doctor Strange movie for a minute. So
Mhm.
what is this Benedict Wong abomination thing that we're seeing? Does this play into New World Order, Captain America 4? And does it play into the
Right.
Thunderbolts? Because with all due respect to the Thunderbolts, they released the cast, and the cast of the Thunderbolts is, to some people, kind of underwhelming. There's no Hulk character, which would be the abomination. And this is something that makes no sense to me. You got US Agent, who is supposed to be the new Captain America, and we know that he killed someone with the shield and he's out of his mind. And
Mhm.
we know that the Winter Soldier, that Bucky goes up against this guy with Sam Wilson, the new Captain America, all throughout Falcon and the Winter Soldier show. So how in the hell did Winter Soldier become a teammate of the US Agent and he's going to be in Thunderbolts? How the heck does that make any sense? Unless somehow somebody got a hold of the Winter Soldier again and reprogrammed him.
That, or they could have done something like in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. You know how they what's his name that in Civil War made Bucky get into the whole Winter
Oh yeah,
Soldier thing
Baron
again.
Zemo. Yeah,
Yeah, I wonder if they're just gonna make up just so they can get that certain thing done of what, you know.
yeah. If he hangs out with Zemo, by the way, one of the most forgettable things, which made no sense in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but would have made perfect sense in She-Hulk, is if we saw Baron Zemo dance in She-Hulk show. That weird techno, wherever they were in Eastern Europe dance should have never happened. But ironically, it probably would have made sense if it was in the She-Hulk show.
Yeah.
And Baron Zemo, we know that he's back. I mean, the Thunderbolts, I knew the Red Guardian, or I should say, I prognosticated and hoped that the Red Guardian would come back. So with the Thunderbolts, Yelena, who is going to be the new Black Widow, the sister
Mhm.
of Natasha Romanoff. We have Bucky, who has the super soldier serum. We have Red Guardian, who has the super soldier serum. And there's some other pieces that, are a part of this team in this group, and US Agent, who took it. So essentially, we're going to see Sam Wilson, who's Captain America, fight against at least 3 people who have the super soldier serum. And ironically, as Captain America, he's the only one that doesn't have it. And I'm waiting for the moment where he takes it, because how is he supposed to fight 3 Captain Americas without the serum?
Right.
And the Hulk is a distorted version of the serum. And there's a bunch of pieces of this serum that are in the Marvel comic book world on how things become. I mean, the Abomination, these are all remnants of trying to recreate Captain America. So in Captain America New World Order, we could see US Agent, we could see Bucky, we could see Sam Wilson, we could see old man Cap there, we could see Steve, old man Rogers, essentially, and we could see the Abomination and the Hulk, because all of them are connected to the serum, as well as one of the characters that they introduced in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and showed the other piece of this, and the other version of this, where we see kind of the tragic story of another super soldier that was put in jail due to racism and different things that were happening within the times of him getting the serum. And so, we get to see Isaiah Bradley, who's played by Carl Lumbly. And essentially, I mean, New World Order to me could feature all of these super soldiers, which would be pretty incredible.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
So, do you want to see She-Hulk again? Do you want to see her show up on the big screen? What are your thoughts?
I kind of want to give her a second shot. Maybe the writers will realize, they kind of messed up with this one.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll have different writers for the movie. I don't know. I know that Tatiana has real potential. So I kind of want to give her another shot.
I believe that She-Hulk, I mean, he said, "I'll see you on the silver screen." And she goes, "Really?" And he's like, "No." But remember, he changes his algorithms and different things. So I think eventually we will see her. There's no point in introducing her in this if she's not. I think all of these characters that are being introduced on Disney Plus are a way to tell stories that they maybe think wouldn't have sold in the movie theater. So they tell these stories and want you to get to know them so that they could kind of interject them into different places, put Moon Knight in when they need to put Moon Knight in, and, put Miss Marvel in. Now, Miss Marvel and Moon Knight connect to Black Panther because they all go to the spirit realm. Do you like that side of it? That Doctor Strange and Moon Knight and Miss Marvel and Black Panther are showing us that there is a not necessarily heaven, but almost like a middle ground where your spirit can go, but can also come back.
I think it's cool, but it can be kind of confusing at times. But yeah.
And I do know I just picked up a new comic that's got Miss Marvel and Moon Knight together. And I thought that was kind of interesting because her bangle bracelets, as well as, his connection back to Egypt and then these bangle bracelets and whatnot, we could find that all of these connect back to some ancient alien race, which would be a kind of funny nod to the TV show Ancient Aliens, and then go back to Kang the Conqueror. So I think Marvel Phase 4, as I've thought for a while since Spider-Man No Way Home, has been a giant cluster of confusion. I don't think they were going to end with Black Panther 2, aka Black Panther Wakanda Forever. I think they announced that recently because I think they said to themselves, Phase 4 has been a giant cluster blank, and being this giant cluster of a craziness, we're gonna have to shift here into this kind of new story and or new world. And I think because Ryan Coogler is who he is and the cast of Black Panther are who they are, I think that they essentially said whatever. I mean, and I could be wrong, but in my opinion, I think Phase 4 is supposed to continue on, and they said no. Let's end it at Black Panther Wakanda Forever to save it, because then we can start it, around that Spider-Man world. We can end it with Black Panther Wakanda Forever because they know this is going to be a good movie. Hopefully that'll swing things back up. So I think Marvel Phase 4 is ending on Black Panther completely because of the fact that they need to save themselves.
Yeah, I think they need to rethink a little bit.
Yeah, they've kind of lost a lot of focus, and we're going to do another thing on Black Panther. I watched the preview when it first came out and cried. What did you think of that? I know we're in the She-Hulk show, but what did you think of the book?
Yeah, it was very touching. It was pretty cool, and I've watched a couple interviews with all the actors too, and like how they think about it and whatnot. And I think it's going to be a really like cool experience to watch.
So She-Hulk, to get back to it, we begin with Hulk and we get to see him. And we really get to see him in a way we've never seen him before, where he is essentially the main character, if not, I mean, he takes up a big part of the screen, figuratively and literally. And even though this is the She-Hulk show, in those first couple episodes, it's a lot of Bruce Banner, it's a lot of Hulk, it's a lot of Professor Hulk, or whatever you want to call it, Smart Hulk. And what were your thoughts on that? Did you like that he was there in the beginning? And how did you see the story when it started off, when we actually had both Hulks together?
I think that was part of like, it was the most normal part of the show. So I kind of did like it. I kind of liked how he was teaching her things, like, you kind of have to accept it now that you're a Hulk, and just taught her like what it's like to be a Hulk. I thought it was very cool, and like kind of his steps of developing as a Hulk himself. So
did you like that we got to learn like his story? We got to see that, Tony built this bar with him, that they,
yeah,
they etched some things in together. I mean, yet another connection back to the center of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is Tony Stark, aka Iron Man.
right.
I mean, what did you think about the fact that once again, Iron Man is still very much alive with the people that remember him?
Oh, I'm glad. I mean, it's nice to like, bring up memories here and there, of like Tony Stark and Captain America and all that. So I honestly, I kind of like it, bringing back the old movies.
You're a big Captain America fan. Your dog is named Cap. So I have two questions I have one question about your dog and one question about Captain America himself. Are you closer to the dog or is your dad?
Oh no, it's my mom first.
Your
It's
mom?
not.
Okay.
Oh, my mom's first, and
Okay.
then me, and then my dad.
Okay. Because the way that your dad posts on social media, it's him and the dog.
Oh yeah, and the one that didn't want a dog in the first place. Yeah.
So, going off of that, the fact that your dog's name's Cap, do you want to see Old Man Rogers show back up in at least Captain America New World Order?
Yes, because number one, I love Chris Evans. So number two, I think it would be cool to, maybe have Rogers help out, figure everything out. Because Sam in the beginning of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, sorry, just he was kind of confused on like why it had to be him, and he doesn't feel right to be like Captain America. I think with having Steve Rogers come back and kind of explain to him why this happened and like kind of guide him, I think that would be really cool.
And we're gonna have a new Falcon.
Yeah.
Because that's been passed on here. So we do know that we will get a new Falcon here, which will have an opportunity to spread his wings, hopefully, in New World Order. In this kind of story that's being told, and Sam not knowing if he should have it and whatnot, there's been this rumor that Steve Rogers is on the moon. Where do you think Steve is? Is he on the base with Nicolas Cage? Is he on the base? I'm thinking about, well, Nicolas Cage, we'll talk about that, Ghost Rider, if he's ever going to return. But is he on the sword base with Nick Fury in space? Does Nick Fury have him with him, helping him? Or is he on the moon? Or is he on a ranch somewhere? Where do you think Old Man Rogers is?
Honestly, I have no idea. I feel like with the whole like going back in time and then aging, he kind of wanted to have a more normal life.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of thought I don't know. I really honestly had no idea what happened to him. Everyone kind of, I guess, assumed that he just died. I know a lot of people assumed that. I don't know. I mean, that's a really good question. I would hope he's still alive. I mean,
there keeps being this rumor though that he's on the moon, and I feel like that could be a way of he's actually on the sword base.
Yeah.
And that he'll be a part of Secret Wars, because maybe he is helping Nick Fury. Maybe he's another set of eyes, because that's your war soldier right there. Maybe Nick is utilizing him as a resource.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that can be happening. We will see. And I think, when we know that the Skrulls are here and we know Secret Wars is coming, we know that the Skrulls can impersonate other people. I think this She-Hulk show was an impersonation of a Disney Plus show. So maybe the entire show of She-Hulk is one giant Skrull.
One could hope, maybe.
So She-Hulk here ends with we don't know where anything's going to go. We're living in a world right now where we know very little, but we do know that the Abomination is an iteration that maybe is more true with the gills and whatnot to this comic book side of things. When we saw him next to the Hulk, he is double the size of the Hulk on screen. Now, he was supposed to be a distorted version of the Hulk in the Super Soldier Serum. I thought that they were the same size. Seeing the Abomination as big as he is, what are your thoughts on what he looks like, his size, and do you want to see him again?
I don't really have much thought. I didn't even really think about that. But the one thing I did think about is Bruce is now like a smaller version of what like the real Hulk used to be. Cause now he's half Bruce, half Hulk now. He can kind of control himself. So I guess maybe Hulk was bigger,
We need to see it bigger.
before. Yeah. So I don't know, but yeah, I don't know. And maybe I hope to see him again because there really wasn't much story to him in She-Hulk, I feel like.
No, and I think when he kept saying my seven soulmates or whatever, to me, I'm in my head, I know that they showed all those women. I actually think that my original thought was his seven soulmates that he wants to go live with in this special place together is actually the base for the Thunderbolts. And I think he's going to be part of the Thunderbolts because in the comics, where there's a giant list of Thunderbolts characters, but
Yeah.
I think his seven soulmates are actually the Thunderbolts,
That makes a lot of sense.
and it would give us a Hulk.
Yeah.
So, I mean, whatever it's going to be, we got to see the Abomination again. I don't know why Wong. I mean, at this point, I think this is Wong's third date with the Abomination. So, I mean, I guess this is the date where they actually make out, whatever it may be. So, he keeps picking them up. I mean, at this point, there's got to be another step, right? Is there a commitment? Are you guys going to be together? But I really don't understand why Wong keeps going after, if you need a Hulk, why wouldn't you just go to Bruce? He keeps going to the Abomination. And I'm really trying to figure out why he is going to a villain to help him. And
Yeah.
what is he helping him for?
Yeah.
And what's the catch? So, Wong, and usually, I mean, when you look at Doctor Strange and Wong is the voice of reason. Strange is the one that's, not as smart with his magic. So when you see Wong being very kind of off the books, off the beaten path, not following, on the dotted line, so to speak, I'm wondering why. Like, what is Wong in right now that he has to do this? Why is he faced with this? And what would make Wong be irresponsible?
Yeah. There's
And
got to
when is
be
he
a
gonna
risk.
show up again?
Yeah.
It's like what? And again, phase 4, it makes no sense, right?
Yeah.
Wong is out here. We know that Doctor Strange has one of the souls left in him of the damned. He's got that third eye. We know that they're maybe going to go back to Dormammu's world. We know that Wong isn't following the rules. Abomination is here. She-Hulk's still trying to get a date. I mean, there's so many things going on, and we still don't have a Red Hulk. And thank goodness she interrupted that finale episode, because that guy that she went on that date with, the rich guy turning into the Hulk, that looked like a cheesy, backwoods, cheaply put together show. And if he stayed in that, I mean, at that point, you might as well just paint me green and not even CGI me and just let me run on stage, because it was just a horrible thing. I mean, I got muscle, and I guess I'd look good in green. It's my favorite color. But I mean, he looked like a complete idiot in that thing.
Well, a lot of people too, I was watching a couple TikToks. A lot of people actually thought when she actually stopped the show and it went to the main screen of Disney Plus, a lot of people actually thought like it glitched or something. And then they actually continued, like they just kind of sat there and watched, and then they actually noticed, everything else that happened. So
yeah, because she was kind of saying like, you're not going to turn my, and it's funny, it's like, you're not going to turn my show off, which was her making a joke about how a lot of people kind of felt at the end of it. Like, what am I watching? I'll watch something else. And I give every Marvel thing a shot. I am the last person in the world to say this is not a great show.
right.
And no matter how hard I tried, Larissa, this is not a great show.
Yeah, no, I tried very hard. And I feel like every episode was okay until the last one.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it's just, there were episodes that went nowhere. Like the episode when she went up to, the sanctuary of peace to go see the Abomination in his human form and all this, whatever. When she went to that, and the whole scene is her checking her phone and trying to get a signal. And I mean, that entire episode was 40 minutes of her wanting to date somebody who was actually just there to get her blood. And I mean, I guess the whole backstory of all of this is, in the beginning, we see Smart Hulk destroy her blood and says, we don't want this getting out to somebody else. Who knows what it could turn into? And then we know that they tried to get her blood in that one episode and the needle broke. And then we see the intelligentsia who we think it is, putting together this new better version of this needle to get her blood. Then she sleeps with the guy, and the Hulk King says, we took your blood. So, I mean, that entire backstory of all this is setting up the Red Hulk.
Yeah.
But the entire TV show, I mean, outside of really just hoping that all of that background stuff was for the Red Hulk, if that doesn't happen, this thing to me is just kind of lost in the air.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you thought was great about the show? Like, is there something about the show that you thought, wow, I'm happy they did that? Or was nothing worth remembering for you?
Honestly, I was kind of happy at first that they were bringing Matt Murdock in, but now at the end of the show, I kind of wish they didn't. So, but besides that, there really wasn't anything.
I mean, I kind of want them to tell us, like, you know what I'd be happy with? If this Matt Murdock is from Earth, whatever, right? There's 616, 838, wherever the heck he's from. My hope is that this is a Matt Murdock from another Earth, and the Matt Murdock from the Netflix series comes and kills this Matt Murdock in the first episode of Born Again, because this cheesy version is I mean, like, this cannot be my Matt Murdock, because this is not the guy that is that dark and menacing and just like tortured soul that finds peace and then feels like he loses it and gets it back. I mean, this is not a guy who's fighting Bullseye. If this version of Daredevil fought Bullseye, he would have gotten killed in 3 minutes.
Yeah. No, I hope that happens. I hope your theory is right.
Yeah. So
that was not Matt Murdock.
If you're listening, Charlie Cox, I need you to kill yourself from another universe in Born Again. But we know Daredevil Born Again is coming to Disney Plus. It's going to be 18 episodes, which is very different than the 6 to 9 or 10 episode series. So we know that that's coming up, and we're excited about that. She-Hulk, to me, like you said, a lot of things happen at the end. Who is Kevin? What is this? Is this real? What was real? Who turns into what? When they stop the story, does that story still have a place to it? And the final thing that we saw that we got to talk about is Universal has owned the rights to a Hulk movie. So Marvel can put Hulk in anything, but can't call anything Hulk. But calling it She-Hulk was maybe a way beyond it and buy it. So you can introduce all these Hulk characters as long as you don't do a Hulk movie or show, based on how I understand the Universal connection to be with the rights that they have. So in the She-Hulk TV show, we see a giant appearance from Scar, whose CGI was even worse than She-Hulk's. When her mouth moved, it looked like when your streaming service glitches. You know, I don't call it the company that I call it because I'm not a fan of it. So I call it Rectum, but everybody knows the company I'm talking about. And sometimes when you're watching through the Rectum service, you put on Netflix or Disney Plus, and you'll see somebody talking and you'll hear their voice and after, and then it'll keep it, and then it'll keep, and that's what she looked like when she spoke. And then Scar comes up, and he literally looked like an old video game generic face that like every player on Madden got when you look at him, except for green, and his shirt looked weird, and everything, and his haircut was a mess, but everything about him looked like a cheap knockoff version of the Hulk. And we never knew if we were going to see any of Hulk's family. We see She-Hulk, we meet her, we get a tease again for the Red Hulk, and we meet his son Scar, but we meet Scar not on the big screen, not where they put the big budget, but on the small screen where they didn't spend the money, which if you're going to be on the small screen, spend the money. We get this giant, huge reveal. And I think it just fell dead because the show wasn't that good. The scene wasn't that good. The story wasn't that good. And you introduced a huge character into a mess of a situation.
Yeah. And it's funny too, because in Avengers, I think it was Age of Ultron, there was a scene where he was talking to Natasha and he was basically explaining to her, like, I can't have kids. And she obviously said, I can't either. So it kind of like, I'm curious how he has a son and that whole thing.
And there's a very weird story that also brings in Wolverine, and it's the Hulk family is very incestuous, and I don't think they'll ever show this on screen. But with Thor talking about orgies, why not have your sister also be your mom? It would be great for everybody. But if they got into that dark, disgusting world of the Hulk, it's a very strange. And then there's the Maestro Hulk, and the story of Hulk gets very crazy. And my concern right now is if you can't make Bruce look good on the small screen, and you can't, if you can't make the Hulk look good on the small screen, and you can't make She-Hulk look good, and you can't make Scar look good, what are you going to do in the movies? Because if you're going to put all this CGI and all this green onto one screen, you better make it look good. And we heard before She-Hulk even came out, when they showed the first trailer, people complained so much about the CGI that allegedly they went back to fix it. So, you think about Marvel looked at this and said, oh, this is good enough. And then then people were like, no, it's not. And then I watched the TV show, and I can honestly tell you, I keep coming back to it, but it looked like a video game that was buffering.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Yeah, just Hulk's son did not look good at all. It was bad.
He also looked like he did something really bad. He kind of looked like when your dog poops in the house, and he had that face like.
Yeah, no, he was not that good looking.
So it's very strange. We'll see what it looks like and what it's going to become. But She-Hulk, unfortunately, seems like that giant She-Hulk smash did not have the type of ripple effect that people expected it to be. And I don't know what this is going to mean for her character. I feel, again, terrible for the people that worked on this show, because they deserve better than that. And, if you're going to make it right. And for Jennifer Walters, Tatiana that plays the character, I want to see She-Hulk again, but I don't know how you do this and how you introduce her unless you save her for Secret Wars when there's a massive fight. But, I was so happy to see another Hulk, but not like this.
Yeah.
So change needs to come. She-Hulk, give it a score 1 out of 10, 10 being the best.
3.
All right. Well, I gave it a 4. So we're very close on that one.
Yeah.
That's where we are. The writers that she talked to that said the story stinks, she was right. But, there was a lot more going on than just that scene in it. And, you can't just put action out there and hope that it works. You got to have a good story. Marvel's been known for their storytelling. In Phase 4, Marvel has been known for kind of just being that kid that knew they had a science project due in 6 months and waited until the morning before and put some rocks inside of dirt and put it in a styrofoam cup and brought it to school and said, look, I found this and it's going to be a thing that cures cancer. And they're like, no, it's a rock and dirt. So, that's Phase 4 has been awful outside of Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah.
And I just, how do you, when you look back on Phase 4, how do you feel?
I don't know. I feel like they had a great start.
Yeah.
But then they just kind of ended it not in the best way.
So I want to do this really quick while we're on here as our final piece. I want us to, as we graded this TV show and She-Hulk, you gave it a 3, I gave it a 4. I want to grade Marvel Phase 4. So let's show by show. So let's take a look here and let's grade it. WandaVision, which I said Falcon and the Winter Soldier was first. It was not as WandaVision. What would you grade Wanda 1 out of 10 WandaVision?
I would definitely give it either a 9 or a 10.
Okay, I'm gonna give it an 8. I did
Okay.
like it, and I know the first couple episodes dragged on, but I'm a fan who likes I Love Lucy and the Andy Griffith Show, and as well as seeing a lot of different things on Nick at Night that it reminded me of. So I would say an 8. Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
I would give that one a 9 as well, I think.
I gave Falcon and the Winter Soldier like a 9.5, almost a 10.
Yeah.
Low key.
I didn't fully get through it, but out of like hearing some friends and like so far of what I watched, I would give it an 8 or a 9.
Yeah, I would say a 9 for Loki.
Mm-hmm.
This one kills me because I think it would have been such a better movie if it was made in the proper timeline. But going back and making a movie about a dead person, it builds the story for the Thunderbolts, but it just lost its weight because it was made so late. Black Widow.
Yeah, I would give that an 8.
Yeah,
I thought it was good.
I liked Black Widow. I'm going to give it a 7. It was
Yeah.
made at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Shang-Chi, because if they made it when she was still alive, it would have, I think it would have been like Winter Soldier, one of the best spy movies that Marvel's done.
Yeah.
Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Or
I would probably give that one an 8 as well.
Yeah, I'll give it an 8. It was very far-fetched to have this like dragon underwater thing. And it was super weird. And it was also very easy to kill that massive demon.
Yeah.
That somehow is not as powerful as Mephisto, which is the devil of Marvel, but we'll see. So yeah, I'll give it a 7. What If?
I didn't get through the whole thing of that yet either.
A lot of spinoffs to it.
Yeah, no, I know it definitely gave a start of a couple like Doctor Strange, like it gave some ideas there. So I'd probably give it maybe a 7.
Yeah, I'm gonna give What If a 7. I thought there was good stories in there. Eternals.
It really didn't do much for me, but I would probably still either give it a 6 or a 7.
I give it a 7, and here's the crazy thing. The more I watch it, the more I like it.
Really?
You also can't go on the Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind ride at Epcot if you haven't seen it.
Oh, really?
Yes. So that's, you and I got to talk about that.
Yeah.
Hawkeye.
I like how
Christmas show.
Yeah, I really like how they introduced the other Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Kate. Kate. I would probably give that a 7.
I'm gonna give it an 8. I liked it. It was like Home Alone meets Die Hard meets Marvel. So I'll give it an 8.
Yeah.
Spider-Man No Way Home.
10.
11 for me. So Moon Knight.
I would give that a 9.
Yeah, I'm a Moon Knight fan. I love Oscar Isaac, and he's gotten to be in Star Wars, in the X-Men when they were Fox, and in Marvel. So, and I talked to him about that when I met him. Very nice guy, super nice guy. I'm going to give Moon Knight a 9, if not almost a 10. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Sadness is what I call it. What did you give this one?
I would give that one between an 8 or a 9, just because I like the whole. It was a change into Marvel with like a whole horror type. Really?
A 6, because they brought the Illuminati in and they killed them. And I know things that I know stuff.
Yep.
And it makes me even more freaking pissed off and sad. Miss Marvel.
I would give that an 8.
I'm giving her I loved her story. I love that it was like this unforced way of teaching us about a culture that maybe a lot of people don't know.
Yeah.
I'm giving Miss Marvel a 10.
Okay.
Thor Love and Thunder.
I would probably give that one an 8 as well. Really?
Freaking terrible. It's the worst movie that Marvel's ever made in the
I
history.
liked how they brought Jane back, and I thought it was
But
cool.
they did it wrong. Everything that
Yeah.
they did it wrong. God Butcher
Yeah.
was wrong. He had the symbiote sword, which they can't have a symbiote because they don't have the rights to it, because Sony does. So you can't make the sword. The God Butcher didn't butcher any gods. Too much orgy story. Not enough blood. The God Butcher was weak. A bunch of children came through the thing with no bruises and no cuts, and they were as strong as gods.
Yeah, that's true.
The whole God thing didn't work out and all this stuff. Then they made a reference to Jesus as the carpenter or whatever. But in my thing, and in the words of Captain America, there's only one God and it's not you. And he said that to Thanos, and I have that t-shirt. So yeah, I'm giving it a 2. I saw it 4 times and I gave it a thumb. I every time I saw it, I walked out of the theater shaking my head going, it's not getting any better. So yeah, that's a 4 from me. Sorry, Marvel, but you should know that movie was, I mean, Thor is a serious character, and I understand Ragnarok was like, oh, he's funny and blah. Thor Love and Thunder was ridiculous. And, Taika Waititi, my best to you and all that good stuff. And I appreciate your work. At the same time, bro, you are Korg and you put yourself on the screen as much as Thor was. And to me, that was a lot of like self, I don't know. There's self-love and there's whatever that was. So I'll leave that there because it was just weird. I Am Groot.
I never watched that, so I can't really grade
Last
it.
episode, really good. Rocket was in it. I don't know what to grade it because it was so weird and they were like 5 minutes long. I'll give it a 7. I love Groot though.
Okay.
She-Hulk, you gave 3. I gave a 4. And
Yeah.
Werewolf by Night, you have not seen
I have
yet,
not
but
seen that yet.
I'm gonna say word up to that. This is a 7.5 for me. It's like a 7-8.
Okay.
So with that being said, this is Superpowered Pop. Find us on superpoweredpop.com, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Superpowered Pop. And if you want 2 writers to do She-Hulk right, well, you're looking at them. So we'll talk with you all soon. And I'll tell you this, Jennifer Walters, I don't like the dating apps any more than you do. So I have swiped left on dating apps and I don't use them. So you shouldn't either. It probably would have made the show better. We'll talk with you all soon. And remember, your true hero lies within.